Welcome, my family. Your brother's been doing work. Your brother's been doing lots of work. What will be going on today is we will be introing something that is an ancient Hermetic science in a book that should be on everybody's shelf. And by on your shelf, I mean your nightstand. And by on your nightstand, I mean if you do not understand what this book is talking about, your soul does. Throw it under the bed. So we'll get into that after all the stories. After all the stories. So, might be live for a while today. So, the book is The Kybalion by William Walker Atkinson. Okay? This is the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus, or the last known writings and channelings of him in this book of the teachings of Hermetic science, which is mental alchemy. Okay? So, might be a long one today. Okay? We got the dragon's blood incense going. All right? In the Virgin Mary, in the Virgin Mary candle cup. Got the dragon's blood sage going. Okay? So first I'm going to start off with maybe a little recap for some of you, but maybe a teaching for others. And what I will be speaking about today, and why I have it on my shirt. Look at that baby Hanuman. Look at that baby Hanuman. What are you doing? Okay? When Hanuman was said to be punished, he used a sound to stop the punishment. And what was taking place is arrows were flying towards Hanuman from all directions. From every single direction were arrows traveling towards the god, towards the fighting Buddha, towards the combination of Shiva and Shakti in one physical vessel, one hybridization. Okay? As the arrows were flying towards him, okay? First, let's go through the seven. We're going to be talking about the seven Hermetic principles at some point. Let's talk about the seven colors. Let's talk about the seven chakras. Let's talk about the seven, we won't say days of the week, but as we strengthen our spells, as we strengthen our minds, my family, we take further and further control over this reality, or that lack thereof. So, the seven sounds: do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Okay, seven. This is that do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, do, re, mi, do. Do, re, mi, 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 ram, ram. That sound can stop arrows in midair, not deflect them, not transmute them. It's time magic from the solar plexus chakra, your third chakra, okay? Your sun, solar plexus. The entire world points at this area. Doctors point at this area, and they call it the solar plexus. Why do you think that is? They're connecting what is known as woo-woo, these chakra colors, to the physical vessel, calling this the solar plexus. There's no other reason for it. There's no other science behind that. So when we find spirituality hidden in physicality, in medical doctrines and medical books, there you have it, my family. I'd like to introduce you to Free. Come here, Free. All right. Oh my God. Oof. Michael, your skull's ready. I'm just kidding, brother. Freaking love you, dude. Super realistic. This is the next step down from Mitchell and Hedges. This would be a Mitchell and Hedges if the jaw came off. This is got like all the indentations in the head and everything. Okay. Freedom, my family. That's free. Hello. Hello. Okay. So, back to the story. If you hear me just randomly go into a ROM, it's because something's projecting in and something doesn't want your brother telling you what he is telling you, what he is already in the process of telling you. So if you see me just look off to a certain direction and start ROMing, you know why. Okay? Interesting. The ram, battering ram, and the ram, the animal, that boom. Connections, my family. Okay. Where should I even start this? Okay. Let's start it all the way back from the 15th of February, okay? So on the 15th of February, I was channeling some of these lovely beings, these dragons. So there was the dragon channel, okay? And with this dragon channel, your brother, being as safe as he is, which is very, 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 very safe and very protected and in his grid, in his home, basically here's what happens. Okay. Here's the average stream coming out of somebody's head when they adjust their chakras. Many chakras are aligned vertically when they should actually be horizontal. This was work I had to do within my own body, conversations for another day. But basically the stream's normally about this big, the initial stream of the antenna that connects all of the chakras from the center point. And this stream, like I said, it's a little bit bigger than a grapefruit, bigger than a softball, about that big, okay? So this is the normal stream, right? Now, when we opened a channel, whether we're doing this or not, this umbrella sort of shape takes place on the top of the head, okay? So being on as long of a fast and being where I was on the 15th of February, coming out of the channel that I was coming out of, whether that was the 16th of February, regardless, you know what I'm talking about, the skull channeling. Thoth started to come in that night. I realized Thoth was there. When I finished, this should have been closed off properly. It wasn't. I look at this as this was meant to be, because this was like this, because my mind was open. Thought could come in. Thought, the messenger, Mercury, Hermes. Okay. So he begins to speak with me, and this was very, very validating, because there's been a lot that has been weighing on my heart and weighing on my mind, and certain messages that when I spoke these messages in what is supposed to be safe space in my patron community, certain patrons exited out while I was speaking. When what I was saying was science, when what I was saying was my truth and universal laws, universal truths, laws in the Kybalion, laws in the Hermetic sciences, the mental alchemies, things that there's nothing that we can do to go against them. We can learn how to exist above them. We can use law against law and then triumph. Let me read you a quick passage to those that can hear. If you can't hear, then you will be able to hear very soon. That's what we're manifesting and co-creating with you today. The half-wise, recognizing the comparative unreality of the universe, imagine that they may defy its laws. Such are vain and presumptuous fools, and they are broken against the rocks and torn asunder by the elements by reason of their folly. The truly wise, knowing the nature of the universe, use law against laws, the higher against the lower, and by the art of alchemy, transmute that which is undesirable into that which is worthy, and thus triumph. Mastery consists not in abnormal dreams, visions, and fantastic imaginings or living, but in using the higher forces against the lower, escaping the pains of the lower planes by vibrating on the higher. Transmutation, not presumptuous denial, is the weapon of the master. Oof. Wow, just let that settle in. So the first time I read that, I rocketed out of my body, and I couldn't pick this book up for probably a month and a half, 2 months. And I picked it back up and read that again, picking up from chapter 6. That's where that is. And same thing, like a freaking, like literally just like fall back, boom, out of the top of my crown. Because that's everything I ever knew. That's everything I ever wanted to explain to people, with the fact that the Merkaba had come in and what the Merkaba meant to me, and everything that my soul knew on a cellular level, on a mental level, on an astral level, on a causal level, on an etheric level, on all levels. Every cell in my body knew this to be true. So when I read it, it was intense for me. So I'm going to leave that right there for now. Put the book down. So Thoth started to come in. So the next day, I wake up, I go to the gym, and I let, 2 people in my life know, like, yeah, I don't really know what to think about this. I just wanted to let you guys know, but Thoth is coming through. And at this exact time, within just a couple hours, our sister, one of our sisters, writes a comment right on one of my shorts and said, like, Thoth is coming through, or you're Thoth, or something very random. But like she said, within a few hours of me saying this, like, Thoth, to the point where let me just show you. I even sent it to my brother. Let me look it up. Hopefully this doesn't show his phone number. I can block it out, but let me see. It doesn't show his phone number. To the point where I messaged this to my brother. Okay. This was this exact morning. So she said, I'm having talks with Thoth. And this was February 17th, just like I told you. So if you look at the date before that, it's February 17th. So it was the 16th, I did the channeling. And then I sent him this because this was crazy. I said, on today's post, this girl is such a beast. I mean that with all due respect, my sister. I didn't mention anything at all. So intuitive. You are very, very intuitive, my sister. Thank you for this. Thank you for that moment. Thank you for that validation. Thank you for that accuracy. Talked to Stephanie. Stephanie from Seraphim Source, my Seraphim sister, the Hug Angel. And she says she's channeling Mercury the other day. And I'm like, I was like, that's so crazy. And she's like, why? And I go, like, we haven't caught up. Like, when we catch up, we catch up. And I was like, Mercury's the Roman equivalent of Thoth. Like, it's incredible to me. So a lot of the stuff that I'll be talking about today and what's been coming through in these recent moments is going to be very validating for a lot of you, because we're all connected. Because as the book states, once again, the one is in the all is in the one. All of this is one. So Thoth comes in on the 16th at night. On the 17th, I speak this into being. I realize this. It gets validated by my sister, your sister, our sister. The next day, I have this dream, and it was an intense dream. Where's my group pen? Hey. All right, I guess I'm using a Sharpie. I have a dream, and I see this. That's terrible. Do it over. There we go. 1 plus. I see this. Okay. I see an I with an O over it equals 1 plus the square root of 5 divided by 2. I want to remind everybody, there's a famous saying, nobody's ever gone to war over math. The reason why nobody's ever gone to war over math is because math formulas can be proven. And when math formulas are proven, theory becomes law. That's why things have become law. That's why much of what your brother has spoken about in the past, when we have mathematic synchronicity, a certain amount of synchronicity becomes a pattern. When that math increases even more, that pattern becomes law because it becomes an impossibility. So when we see a possibility, when we see a miracle, we know this is spirit communicating with us. So certain theories can become laws in your own mind, in your own reality, and thus we triumph, and thus you triumph, and thus we can be empowered by the beings, the aspects of the self, your loving angels, your guardian angels, everything that's around you, that's assisting you in this present moment, gets through once and for all. Okay? So when I see this in my dream, I said, there was one seat left in the classroom. Thoth is teaching the class, and everybody's got like those big calculators. He's showing, the history. I know that nobody has those calculators anymore. There used to be these like $200 calculators when your brother was still in high school, even though he looks like he's in sophomore year of college. Anyways. There was these big calculators, and on the big calculator, everybody had these, and everybody had the protractor, the compass. They had all the stuff, and with all the stuff that I was seeing, I didn't have anything. There was just an empty seat for me, and Thoth was like, "Sit," and I was like, "Okay," and I sat, and I was looking at this formula, and I said, I'm not smart enough to do this. I literally said that in the dream. I was, kind of like disenchanting myself and disempowering myself in the dream. And I said, I need a calculator. Like, I need all the stuff that everybody else has to be able to do this. So I wake up, obviously, because I'm sitting here talking to you now. I wake up and I don't know what this is. So I start researching, and I start doing a lot of research on what is the I and the O. And what the I and the O is the symbol for what is known as the golden mean. Okay? And communicating with Thoth this morning, he was kind of funny with me. He was kind of like, come on, what is with you guys? And by you guys, he means all of humanity. He's like, what is with you guys? He's like, we left it in plain sight that these people were accessing the mental, the mind of Thoth, the mind of the self, the mind of thought, real thought, alchemical thought, because the person who channeled this, okay, because this is the symbol for his name, right? Does anybody want to say it in the chat? Anybody? All right. I'm gonna clear this formula. So if you didn't write it down yet, it's gone now. Nobody knows. Interesting. Phidias. Okay. Interesting. Phi. Dios. God. The golden meme. How the Parthenon was built. The spiral of creation, the shape of this, the shape of the ear, the shape of the galaxy, the shape of every wave, the shape of growth on this planet. Okay. How the Parthenon was built 2,500 to 3,000 years ago. I don't know. That's what history says. Regardless, this is the person that's said to have built it. Okay. Interesting. So phi equals that. Okay. Phidias. Okay. Golden mean God. Interesting. Does anybody else know any other phis? Interesting. Interesting. Isn't that interesting how they left it right in plain sight? How thought left thought right in plain sight. What is this, Alexander? 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 8 plus 13 plus 21 plus 34 plus 55. Ooh, 55. Exactly. How many spheres are in a Metatron's cube when it's been created with three-dimensional thought? A shape that has access to ninth dimension. 9. Interesting. Now, let's talk about numerology very briefly. Okay. So anybody with that? Phi and Phi were the same math formula from different people. So yeah, just in case if you missed that. So Phi, 2,500 years ago, is the golden mean and how the Parthenon was built. This is right out there right out there. And then about 500 years ago, Fibonacci, Italian, okay, found this formula of 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3. Same formula, different formula, same result. That's what's coming through. This is fascinating. If you're not fascinated by that, I don't even know what to tell you. But Thoth tells me he's like, we left it right in plain sight. He's like, not one of y'all pulled that in. Amazing, absolutely shocking. What? We gotta pay more attention, my family. There's probably plenty of stuff right out in plain sight, right out in front of us that we're missing right this very moment. If we're missing something like that. So back to the eye. All right. Back to numerology, okay? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. 9. Okay? So I equals 9. All right. That's funny because when I say I9 together, it kind of triggers certain things in my cell structure because what an I9 is considered here in this country. But besides that, we know that the I is the number 9. Okay. Interesting. All right. So the I is the 9. What is the O in numerology? Can anybody answer what a 0 is in numerology? Zero. Okay. 0 stays 0. 0 is God's oomph. That's what was taught to me by my master teacher, Connie. She taught me that 0 was God. And anywhere you saw a 0, the 0 was there, but the 0 wasn't there. Let's explain. Okay. If you have 7, okay. So what is Vedic math? All right. Let's break this down for a second. All right. So I'll use my birthday as an example. 822. So when we get to 8 plus the 2 plus the 2, we get to 12. When we get to 1 plus 2, we get to 3. So the Vedic number, the conglomerate of bringing the numbers together becomes 3. This is what this is, okay? So this is basically what will happen with a 0 is if you have the number 70, the 0 is not there. You still have a 7 because 7 plus 0. So you have more energy to the 7. You have more energy to the, to those of you that have been continually seeing 1110, or to those of you that have been seeing a lot of 10, 11, or these numbers that have been coming up for a lot of us lately on the clock. This is not a bad thing. This does not mean that you were not in that accurate formula to get the 1111. This was something that was coming through, that was spirit communicating with all of us, these 1110s that were coming through, and anything along the lines of seeing a bunch of 1s with a 0 at the end or during it. This is what was coming through for many of us. Okay. So when I look at this symbol, okay, I see the 9, I see the 0. So basically, what am I seeing? All right, let me draw it again. Now this time I'll turn it this way. All right, there we go. This is the I, the self, the tree, okay? What's been coming through with the God sense over the trunk of the tree, okay? Your brother's been talking about trees a lot lately. If you don't know what I'm speaking about, there's a couple of videos about the dryads, the druids, the dragons, these tree people, and what the tree represents. This is something that I've been processing since the B-Thriae came in, all right, for all you oracles of Delphi out there. Thriae, Thriae. Okay, these were the original oracles of Delphi. One of these bee goddesses was the mother of Artemis and Apollo. Apollo being the first humanoid, or obviously hybrid if he was part bee, the first humanoid oracle of Delphi and the only male oracle of Delphi in history. Okay, from that point on, after Apollo, every oracle of Delphi was female. So this was the sun god. This was this Greek Jesus. Because as your brother's been saying, when I look through history at the archetypal work that your brother's been doing for a very long time, what have I been saying? Stuff got messed up. Can't even say their names. Stuff got messed up Egypt. Stuff got messed up Greece. Stuff got messed up Rome. Interesting. Phidias. Fibonacci. Hermes. Mercury. Time repeating itself, the cycles. So one of my most watched videos was when I talked about the multidimensionality and how to actually spit fire. Okay, this is already triggering things. Oh, it's so cute. Okay, so we're going to go through the Fibonacci spiral again. So to find 1 unit of measurement, this is how we can spit galactic fire, by sending it in a forward clockwise momentum. So this is why you're light benders. This is why you can control this reality, my family. You have the ability to control your reality. You need to first control your mind. And we'll be speaking more about that later and going forward. Okay, so moving on. 1 unit of measurement is whatever from here to here behind my throat is 21 units of measurement. Okay, does that make sense? If you can find 21, you can find 1. If you can find 1, you can find 21. And let me show you why. Because from the center of your heart, from proper posture, from your angelic posture, forward by 1, down by 1, back by 2, up by 3, forward by 5, down by 8, back by 13, up by 21, forward by 34. Okay? And when I spoke about this over a year ago, and you guys spent many, many hours, because like I said, that if you go on the back end of my channel, you'll see this is the most watched video I've ever put up. Even though you might see more views on other stuff, this is the video that you guys went back to and watched the most with this galactic fire. What was told to me is that this number 34 is actually breaking dimensions. It's the speech. It's how we control time. It's how we control the mental, is by activating the spell. This is why we were taught how to spell. This is why the Greeks added 2 letters. Let her. What are those letters that they added? Vowels, vows to L, okay? What are the other letters? They are consonants. They are constants in your reality. Little quick tidbit from your brother. If you use more of the words that start with consonants and multiple consonants, they are much more powerful at controlling your reality than words that start off with vowels to L. The vowel L words are new words. You look at all the old words, there were no vowels, okay? So they didn't have these. These got added in the Bible, and that's what we're going to be getting to once we get through this. But first, I need to make sense out of this whole, what I told you all those years ago, all that time ago, all those days ago. It doesn't matter, because some of you will remember this, okay? 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55. Interesting. So 4D speech, 5D. What I'm manifesting up in heaven, the cloud in the sky that I bring down like this. So my control of time, the tesseract, the cube, what I speak into being, and then boom, that he shut, boom, 5D. What I am manifesting here, 55 also. Interesting. The number of spheres in a Metatron's cube, if you fill in the negative space. Video for another day. We've already talked about it. It boggles certain people's minds, but it's it's like go get some glue and just glue a bunch of spheres together until you have 55. It's pretty simple. You just fill the negative space. Anyway, so 5D. Okay, so interesting. So 6D, where the imps and all these lower dimensional things happens to be under the ground. So just under the ground is where the incubus, where all these devils are. That's interesting. So if we go 4, 5, 6 is under the ground. 7, wow, very interesting. So 7D, where my guardian angel, where our Pleiadians have been said to be by many, many mystics, happens to be standing behind me. So my guardian angel is literally standing up with me, feet on the ground, right behind me. 8D, wow, 8D. A lot of people say that they're dragons in 8D, and that's where they started off their work. 8D is flying over my head forward. Okay, and then 9D, boom, once again, upside down, going down in front of me. Okay, so with this integration of what is taking place with this golden mean, with this Fibonacci spiral, what is taking place here is she, my barbarian, whatever you want to look at her as, my Amazon, as I speak to you, being an Amazon, my Amazon goddess Valkyrie warrior happens to be upside down in front of me. So her crown chakra is my root chakra, because what's happening? The reality is folding in and around itself by this, to me, law, because that is mathematically not sound, that people were saying for years. 6D has these things, 7D has these things, 8D has these things, 9D has these things, and 6D happens to be under the ground. 5D happens to be coming down in front of me, what I am manifesting in the physical reality. 6D is under the ground, 7D standing up behind me, 8D is flying above my head, and 9D, boom, superhero landing. Okay? But flipped. Okay, so when we go through this flipped integration, now the red is over the purple. This is what I've been seeing. So my red is over her purple, and her purple is over my red, and vice versa. So we have this, boom, this container. And with that container, even though this goes out on diagonals, angles, angels, okay? All right, so even though this goes out on these angles, because that's a lot of units of measurement at that point, because I believe the 8D is like something like 1,044, which once again, like, look at that number. 144,000, or maybe it's the angelic, but it's like you keep adding the number with the number before it. It's called fib. Anyways, so 9D is right in front of me, and this is what was told to me. If I went, and some of you, I mean, the patrons have seen it. My book, it's orange. It's got a record. It's like a recycled record turned into a book. It's been my spiritual journal this entire time. If you've been watching your brother for a while, thank you for that, by the way. This will also, you've seen this book before. Regardless, in that book, long ago, over 10 years ago, over a decade ago, I heard Spirit say to me, I heard my old spirit guide, Samuel, say to me, Magenta is where the mage will enter. And I said, interesting, mage enter. It's right there in the word, because I've been breaking down these spells for quite a while, my family. I've been breaking down these spells because I knew that with these spells, we could further take control over the reality. I knew that I was taught that sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And I felt everything as a high-level empath. I felt every word that was out of alignment. It doesn't matter if what the person was saying was not even possible to manifest in this physical reality. I would feel a temporal time portal. I would feel a multidimensional avenue that they would open up a gateway to. That's why it feels bad when people say things to us that are creating realities in other places, even if that's not meant to be and won't happen. The person that is having the most power in that present moment, the person that is in the most integration, the person that has the highest level of mental acuity is the one controlling the reality. So sometimes we allow certain people, because of certain fears and lacks of safety, or just, like attracts like, and that's just where we're at in that present moment. There's been times when we let certain narcissists, sociopaths, and just weird vampiric people that they're not really vampiric. When we put them on a diet, when we stop feeding them, they will throw you out of their reality very quickly. And I'm sure many of you have seen what has taken place in the past with people outside of yourself and within your own life, as you take power over your reality, as you take power over your domain as the most powerful person in your physical reality, and go. So the number 9. So why was I bringing all this up again when I already told you this? Because of this fascination of this fib, this phi, because of this combination and connection to the tree. Because with the tree, I was shown this in every single physical dogma, every single writing, okay? Krishna crucified to a tree. Jesus crucified to a tree. Quetzalcoatl crucified to a tree, Alexander? That's very interesting because that's South America. There was a big ocean and no cell phones or communication. So either all of the information, which comes more and more evident to your brother every day, either all of the information came from the same people from their communication, or intuition and spirituality has been proven to be real. Because there's no way that all these people across time and space, across all these oceans and all these places, have the same belief structures on the same days, about the same math. This is law. Once again, theory has become law, my family. What am I getting at? So over the course of the past months in the safe space, should you leave? I don't know. It doesn't matter what you do, Bo. Anyways, with what has been taking place with this 9th dimensional integration and what has been taking place, and I love you so much, my brother. You do what you want. With what has been taking place, I've been asking myself, I've been asking my family, I've been asking my crew, I've been asking the other people that I look out to, not look up to, not look down upon, the people that I say, oh, you are family. Like, oh, interesting. My sister Joanne, happy birthday, by the way. I freaking love you so much. So people that I look at and I say, and within the patron group, I'd say, how do I, because I'm noticing that I'm shifting dimensions like this on the daily. In the moment to moment, I'm shifting dimensions because my soul is wanting to help these other aspects of myself. So I asked myself, and I asked my crew for months, how do I stay in my highest domain? How do I stay in my highest mental and physical and spiritual and causal and etheric reality without dropping down to help these people? Because if they're in a consciousness of 6th dimensional, 7th dimensional, 8th dimensional, because we've ascended beyond 5D, my family, okay? Just as a quick recap, 1st dimension is one point of interest, but the point of interest would need to exist on a paper, okay? This is Nassim Haramein 101, all right? 2 points of interest is binary, okay? So now this either needs to exist inside of a computer or on this physical plane, or it needs to be created in the mental plane. I can make 2 points of interest and connect the line, but there's a 3D line there. So this exists but doesn't exist. So interesting. So 3D is actually the 1st dimension. This is interesting. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's interesting, Alexander. There's the number 7 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Interesting. This connection to the number 7 and the number 9 over and over and over again as a researcher, as a philosopher, philo, being filled with love, Sophia, the love of Sophia, Sophia meaning wisdom, okay? As a philosopher, I keep seeing these connections over and over again because we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but the 9, how do we get to 9? There's mom and dad, these forces that are existing on the other side as 1, masculine, numerology, and 2, feminine, my family, okay? It's 1 and 2 that created 3. 3 is the baby. 4 is the house that the baby lives in. 5 is the being open to change and the changes that make this possible for 6. The pregnant mother, this nurturing number for the 7, the hooded monk, to then the 8, the dragon, the caduceus, heaven and earth becoming 1 to 9, the mystic becoming Merlin. This is why 9 in the tarot is the hermit. This is why it's Merlin, because the 9 stands alone, because 10 does not exist, okay? All of these things are connected, I promise you. Anytime we're seeing a number, anytime something has been left in plain sight, something else has been slightly left out. These things have been written into everything, into astrology, into alchemy, into the mental alchemies, into all of the spiritual sciences. And a lot of this information has been hidden from my family. So why was I saying this? Why am I talking about this? Because of this connection to the tree, once again. The tree, because the tree was the answer. And let me make sense out of this for you. As a multi-dimensional deity, as a multi-dimensional being, this is what takes place. 1, 2, masculine, feminine, don't exist. So 3. So 3 points of interest, 3D, okay? So from 3D, from this number 3, this is where existence begins. This mental creation can begin to suffice, can begin to manifest, okay? So with this number 3, what are we getting at here, okay? So 3D to 9D, right? So 9D is something I've been talking about for years now. It's been over a year. It was a long time ago that I told everybody in the patron group, because that's where the safe space is, where I can speak with no filter. I can speak with no filter and say what I want when I want, because there's no, there's no weirdos in there, because like we all feel everybody that's in there, and they'll just leave when they become triggered, when they see that there's nothing that they can do. So with this safe space community, I said to my family, I had a dream. I was in 9D, but it just looked like, I don't know, things were made of cement. Like it didn't look that fancy. Because at that point, when I said this to everybody, I thought we were actually going to shift a dimension. But what we've really been shifting is shifting mental dimensions, and we've been shifting to our multidimensionality. And let me just explain this briefly with you, and you can sit with this part later. This would be a good time to get your notebook. And by good time to get your notebook, I mean 41 minutes ago. Okay? So here we go. 3D. 3D is where the vessel exists. Okay. This 4D is time. 4D is the speech. 4D is the thoughts. Okay. This is the axis. Okay. This is axis. Okay. This is forward and back, up and down, left and right. Saying we can really only go forward, but we can go backwards. Where can we go backwards? In the mind, fourth density, the tesseract, the cube, because in the center of the cube is where the morning star is. This thing that's been trying to keep away from you. Oh, that's evil. That's this. That's Venus. That's Lucifer. We'll talk about that in a minute too. All right, so there's the cube. What's 5D? It's the Merkaba, okay? It's the Merkaba. It's the simplest geometric pattern that you can create to enclose space. Is a tetrahedron, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? So this is 8 points of interest, counter-rotating, okay? So tesseract, 4D, 5D, Merkaba, Punziatisch und Kunstiasch, okay? 5D. All right, 6D. 6D is what are the shadows that are needing to be integrated? What is underneath the ground? What is underneath the self? What has been hidden from the self? 7D is where we start to be able to touch our divinity. 7D is when we integrate and become one with our guardian angel, when we become one with our angelic nature. 8D is actually the caduceus, once again, the heaven and earth. The dragon, drag on the dragon. These words are all connected, my family, because when we look at this being that is reptilian in nature, as there are many reptilian aspects within the body, we then get to this whole 9th dimensional of this once again. So 5D coming down, 9D coming down. The 9D is where the branches start to drape over. Okay, so any tree, once the tree gets big enough. So what do we see? So the tree grows. All right. So I'll just start with this very simple drawing. So we have a tree. Okay. Can I get these things out of here? We have a tree. All right. And then this is happening throughout 6D. There's roots down here. Because as the roots spread, we're able to what? What is the tree able to do? The tree is able to have a stronger foundation and base to grow bigger upward. Okay. So what is this? So this whole process of integration, this whole dark night of the soul thing is part of the physical reality. These are part of the lower Sephiroth. Once again, the tree. So if you don't know what I'm speaking about, the shape that is on the 10 of Pentacles in the tarot, if you have a real tarot deck at home. But as I go like this, okay, now the branches start to bow over. Why do the branches bow over? The branches start to bow over because there's fruit. A tree can be very large and not produce fruit for a while. What is the fruit in the Garden of Eden? The fruit is knowledge. Okay? So this is the answer. This is the answer, how I stand strong, how I stand tall in my reality. and allow, if somebody comes to my tree and they want to shake the tree for knowledge, I can let some fruit, I can let some knowledge fall from my tree. I don't need to jump down to their level. Oh, you poor thing. When we do that, we get pulled into their bucket. We get pulled into their matrix. This is inevitable. If you just pay attention, you'll see where this was happening to you. You'll see where your energy was incredibly high vibe, and then all of a sudden you helped somebody, which should improve your reality, because that's cause and effect. And you help somebody, and the next day or that night, your heart's racing. Your stomach might feel a little odd. The mind is racing. Okay? So this is the answer, my family. Being strong, being right here. I can't force the horse to the water or make the horse drink. Okay? So when these other horses come to my tree, what do I always tell you guys? The only way that I can truly assist you is by letting you know what has worked for me in the past. That's it. That's it. And as my present moment belief structure and as my mind shifts around this multidimensional ride that we're all taking together, I then let you know, like, hey guys, rebuttal, like something I said before. I used to say it was ABC, but now I realized it's XYZ. I used to see that Atlantis fell like this, but now I see that Atlantis really, this is how Atlantis was to me. I used to see it like that. Now I see it like this. This is why we all see things in a different way. Just because the way that you see it from the other person, there's no point in having an argument. You're both right. We can see in history, and this is why I talked about this, and Thoth wanted me to tell you this, Phidias and Phi. They both had a completely different mathematical formula that was perfect and sound, but both mathematical formulas were the same spiral of creation. So it doesn't matter how you get there, my family. It matters what you believe and what gives you assistance for the words that you speak, for the thoughts you allow yourself to think, so you can take further control over this physical reality by okay? By using the laws against laws, using the poles if we're existing on one pole, flipping the pole to exist on the opposite, using vibration to vibrate things out, using sound, okay? So the nine being connected to the completion of the first segment. This is what was shown to me. This is what was shown to me, like I told you guys, Krishna, Chrisna. There's Chris again, Christos, okay? That oil that we're going to be speaking about in another video, truly talking to you how to further take control over your reality, okay? You know, this logo, this logo, did we think that was an accident? Okay, when you look at what that logo really truly represents and what that represents in regard to the self becoming Christed, to this Christed oil, and why these anointings were done in the Bible, and these anointings that were done by the first Pope, Mary Magdalene, not a prostitute, my family, the first Pope of Christianity, okay? Anyways, let them shake the tree. You cannot force them to eat the fruit. Okay, if they come to you and you see that they want fruit, they're asking me how to do this thing, you can let the fruit go. But what happens when our tree gets to this state of ninth dimensional integration of the self, realizing that we are one with God? This is our first connection to divinity, because this is the connection to the dimension in the realms of the Seraphim. Sera, serpent, 8D, Pheme, fire, serpent of fire. These are the phoenixes. Interesting, Alexander. Well, because what were you saying? The 8 goes from way back there to overhead. This is the dragon going overhead. But what is the tower in the major arcana? The phoenix coming down from the heavens. The dragon with feathers coming down from the heavens, going into the ashes, going down below the ground, where 6 and 9 both lie under the ground, going down below the ground. And it's the phoenix that rises from the ashes. It's a very powerful card in the tarot. Very powerful card. So, when somebody shakes the tree, we can let the fruit go. But there are going to be certain fruits that then fall off the tree. Those fruits then rot. Those seeds get planted. Those seeds come into more trees. And my soul and my field eventually becomes an orchard. And when my field becomes an orchard, I get one tree, put it on top of another tree. This is the totem pole. This is why we saw the bear at the bottom and the eagle at the top. This was the Native Americans' way of showing you chakras. Okay, so we can see that this antenna goes up and goes up and goes up for a certain while. But those of you that have activated above 100 chakras, and if you're going to do this work, please do it slowly and safely. There have been many, many days and nights where Alexander actually had to backtrack and tune in with spirit and tune in to my guides and my aspects of the self, and actually turn off some chakras that I recently activated because I felt completely crazy from activating more chakras. But being above 100 activated chakras at this point, okay, what do we have here? The self, 7, the next self, the next self, the next self. This is the antenna. What I'm getting at is this. As my antenna continues to go up, and to each their own, take this with a grain of salt or not. As my antenna continues to go up and up and up and up and up, I start to see that it eventually starts to bow forward. After a very long time, in many, many versions, it starts to bow forward. This because even though this looks straight, it's almost like how we look out on the horizon. And I know I might have some flat earther in here right now, but this is why things that are actually rounded look straight, because they are so massive. They are so massive. When we make something very, very small and we sit on something, this is what is taking place, because our eyes are not able to see through the horizon and it looks flat. Okay. So this looking flat, like I said, eventually, if you go to very, very large versions, I see that the chakra stream, the antenna starts to bow forward. Okay, like I said, to each their own. There's more than one math formula. There's more than one way to crack an egg and make an omelet. I'm letting you know what has worked for me to get me to the point that I'm at right now. What I'm speaking to you and what I'm saying to you is in no way, shape, or form easy to integrate and speak all this into being and to track and trace all of these thoughts. I do this for myself, of course, but I do this for you, my family. I do all of this for us. I do these works and these solo missions and these dolo and group missions, because when we take control over the outside, we take control over the inside. When we take control over the inside, we take control over the outside. This is as above, so below. This is Hermetic law. This is as within, so without. If there is a problem on Gaia, then you find that problem on your vessel. If something has taken place in the Ukraine, or something has taken place in Ohio, or something is taking place, or find that area on your body, find that trauma, transmute that trauma within the self by using mental alchemy, using law against the law, and then triumph, using the higher against the lower, and existing and vibrating somewhere else as the pendulum swings for everybody else, as the pendulum swings and hammers people that are not in control of their mind, okay? This is why there are times where you're just existing and straight up chilling, my family, okay? Chilling since chilling's been chilling. Moving on, okay. Wow, that's number 2. I have 10 numbers written down. I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to rip till it's about getting close to 2 hours, because this is a whole thing right now. Back to Phidias. Okay, so we talked about the tree. We talked about the integration. We talked about the dimension. We talked about the fact that the 9, like I was saying, we see that the tree branch is bowing over. This is in Norse mythology. This is in the Buddha. The Buddha became the Buddha, and he died under the Bodhi tree. We talked about Jesus being crucified, or suspectedly, all right, supposedly rather. We talked about Jesus getting crucified, Krishna getting crucified, Quetzalcoatl getting crucified. All of these beings that were said to be nailed to wood, because we are the tree. This is what was known. This is what was in Scotland and Ireland. These were these boughs. These were these bows and these boughs. Once again, anytime you find the GH touching, that is a very, very old word. That is the eternal Om. That is the original Om. When there weren't vowels, it was that long. This is why all the Greeks, all the Romans, everybody wanted their bow and arrow and their ship to go out for war made out of this magical wood, made out of these U's. When the Y didn't exist, the Y was actually a J. So sit with that one at some point. Anyways, moving on. All right. Yes, your brother's ripping it. He's just doing this. He's doing this. I thought they would. No, it's fear. Okay. When we have fear, when we're on that end of the pole, okay, you flip it to courage. You feel powerful. If you need to take control over your reality, like I told you, do, re, mi, ra. It's your reality these things are existing in. They're not in there with you. You're in there with them, okay? Like this is your field. If something's foolish enough to go into your field, my family, you have free range to go around it with an icosahedron, okay? Make a star. Boom, okay? That's this shape. All right, that's what I was showing you before. I've got the shape out there, but the Sandolphin's cube, to get a star, and then to have the other star over it upside down, which my brain can't even draw that right now because my brain thinks it's a pentagram, but to have two stars and fold them into each other, okay? This will actually transmute something up to 9th density that cannot exist in 9th density, my family. It's not a 9th dimensional being. So when you send it to 9th density, it'll literally change phase. It'll just go out of phase because it can't exist in that mental construct. You are a multidimensional deity listening to this broadcast. This is something that is existing in one dimension. Take control over your reality by taking control over your mental, and taking control over your mental by taking control over your physical. Doing whatever cleansing, doing whatever routines that you have to do, and physical things and meditations to take control over the mind, because that's where it all exists. So let me pause right there for a second, because I want to tell you this. This is science, my family. This is law. How much percent of the planet is covered in water? 75%. Okay. How much energy goes into thought every day? They've proven this. They've hooked up little cathodes to the body or whatnot. 25%. So if the book, First Principle, states that all is mind, I find that very, very interesting. So 25% of the planet is matter, while the other 75% is water. 75% of my body, your body, is water. The other 25% is matter. Do you see where I'm going with this, my family? 25% of your energy goes to thought. What is the other 75%? Still water. Who's to say if we're underwater right now? Who's to say? If this oxygen, if 2 oxygen is part in the H2O that is water, so just one on the periodic table of elements, way over here, way up at the top, something that's a gas. By me just placing one gas in front of you, a droplet of water would appear. Who's to say we're not in water right now? That's just what I want. That's just what I want to let you know. Because what if this really not dense water that we're all swimming in here together, okay, as we still have gravity, okay, it's like oil rising to the top of your salad dressing. Yes, he's Italian. He's going to use Italian references for a second. You go in the refrigerator, you get your Nana's homemade salad dressing. All the other stuff's at the bottom and the oil's at the top, and you got to shake it all together to make your salad dressing. So what if this level of oil, this level of water is what we're sitting in, and this is why we have an atmosphere around this planet? Just food for thought. I'm not telling you that that's guaranteed how it exists. I'm just telling you that we don't know, and it's possible. It's possible that the water that we go in is a thicker water, because there are waters underneath the waters that submarines cannot go into. Those waters you can actually see and find lakes under the water. This is not woo-woo from the whatever dimension. This is science. If you do research, there are submarines bouncing off of certain waters because there's so much salt in them. More on that later. But what I'm getting at is, with this 25% earth, 25% thought, 25% matter, 25% of my energy being thought, okay? And the law that all is mind. What happens when we use that thought more efficiently? And I've been telling you guys in many of the videos, when you go to bed or you're in your last meditation of the day, do a recap. This is you. beginning to have a further and stronger connection to controlling time. We have a further way to control time when we look back on what we've already done, when we look back on decisions we've made and say, I could have done that better. I could have done that this way. I got frustrated. I lost my patience. I gave that bum an orange when I could have given that bum $5. There are many examples of where we could have been more loving, because love is the thing that exists and moves faster than light. As powerful as light is, as powerful as ether is, and all these things, they need to travel. Love does not need to travel. Love goes all the way outside of time and space instantaneously because it's already there. Because it's one of the more powerful forms of thought. Because it is the real house of magic. The only house of magic. Everything else is a distortion of chaos. Moving on. So, one more time, I will show this Phidias shape. When I saw this, there was two shapes right next to it. This is when the whole goose chase began, my family. And I've been looking for this for a long time. That was when I saw this. Okay. These were the two symbols that were right next to this, the Alpha and the Omega. All right. When I saw the Alpha and the Omega, this was really interesting to me. Okay. So these Greek letters, these vows to L, these vowels that were added, okay, because these were clearly added because these came from the Hebrew Bible. These came from the Jewish Bible. The Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. The beginning and the end. Interesting. Many of you have heard me talking about this number. This number has been following me around for over a decade in this form, which happens to be a perfect number. 496 can be divided into by every single even number. And then the perfect number above that is many, many digits. So it's a high number, but it all adds up to 19. It's a number that's been following me everywhere, to the point that other people on the planet, when they see this number, they reach out to me. They know that it means something. Now I found that after all of this time, it represents the beginning and the end. Because once again, we talked about the 0 not being there. But what's 1 plus 9? 1 plus 9 is 10. The 9 isn't there. This is the first magical number in numerology. Because the first 9 cannot drop because it stands alone. The 10, the 0 drops. The 11 is 2. 12 is 3. 13 is 4. You see where I'm going? 19. 1 plus 9 is 10. The 9 is there, but it's not there. And that's why this is a magical number. Something is existing that doesn't exist. That's the Omega. That's this force that wanted to be considered God. That's this force that wanted to be considered the old white man with a beard. No, he did not just draw a nutsack. This is the original Omega. The original Omega was not what I just showed you. This is what it is now. Okay? Okay? I found her. I found it. I found what these things had been praying to. So now, let's go through this. Thank you, Becca, for the super stickers. Love you so much, sister. Oh, my God, Carrie, I know. So, yeah, just as a quick pause, but not pause, what have you been healing? What has been transmuting? So on February 14th, on this Valentine's Day, we started to heal what took place truly once and for all, what happened on Valentine's Day a long time ago. And what that was is why many of you have been processing the Knights Templars. Okay. Many of you have been finding the Rosicrucians, and certain informations have been coming back to light, have been coming back to the forefront, because the Valentine's Day massacre that has been spoken of was the murder of all the Knights Templars. It was one of the times that, because we got split up as a collective, and this is what I spoke about. If you don't know what I spoke about, I'm not going to say that whole thing again. Go back and watch my video of, it was either the first of the year or it was the last day of 2022, or the hand split. Okay, some of you know what I'm talking about, some of you don't. But many of us went to Andromeda and many of us went to Sirius. This took place again here in Scotland, okay, in Scotland, Ireland. This is when What does your brother always talk about? The Virgin Mary. Okay, this is when the people in Maryhead, which has been wiped off the map, because who writes the story? Who won the war? This is when Maryhead was fighting Peterhead. This is the same thing over and over again that your brother has been finding and bringing to light. All of these gods are the same God in who I found hidden all throughout history. 1 second. Yahweh, YHWH, storm deity. Ra, said to be a solar deity, storm deity. Every prayer will be ended in Amen. Amen Ra. All of these deities, Zeus, Jupiter being the planet that's connected to this, Jupiter being the planet of electricity, storm deity. Once again, Zeus holding the lightning bolt, storm, the old white man with the beard that somehow locked up the parental figures, the primordial deities. This is written right into the stories. This is work that your brother has been doing on himself, doing on the collective, whether or not this has been just work that I've been doing within my own vessel, within my own universe, and I have been seeing the reverberations in my physical reality, because it's all one. Once again, the all is in the all. The one is in the all. This is what we know. This is what even the burning bush says in the Bible. I am that. I am. I am that. I am. I am. It is all me. Okay? It is all you. All is one, my family. Okay? So as I look through all of this and I get to the original name of Jupiter, I told you guys this about a year ago, before I went on mission, before Jupiter got closer to the planet than it's been in a very long time. When I went on that mission, I believe it was last May. That was when I found the word Jove. And many of you remember this in your Looney Tunes cartoons and all those older things. By Jove, I think he's got it. That was when I caught him once and for all. That was when I caught him for sure. The old white man with a beard was Jupiter all along, because Jove is the translation for Jupiter. And this is Peter. Wow, I see the name Peter, and often, like very, very often in the Bible, I see Peter, even though he wasn't the best apostle. That's interesting. Like, you read about Peter, and you read about what took place, and you read about denying Jesus, the original Magi, that we all can become, that we all can be within the self. This Magi, this anointing, this oiled one, okay, this Christos. And you see Peter a lot. And it's Peterhead that's still on the map. Interesting. This aspect of the self has been winning, but no longer. Because if you actually look in astrology, guess what's coming? Jupiter is colliding with the wounded healer. Okay? Check it out yourself. Okay? Which is all connected to the CH, the Chronos, time. It's time, my family. It's time for these traumas and what took place to be transmuted once and for all. It will transmute within the self. There will be ease and grace. And I choose not to even use the word ease anymore, because Thoth asked me to look it up last night. And ease actually comes from adjacent. I don't know if you're still here, Christina. You're going to get a kick out of this. Ease comes from adjacent. So it's not true ease. True ease and true integration of grace is within the self, not next to the self, not close to the self. Adjacent means the house next door. It means it's within reach, but maybe not. Adjacent can be outside of reach. So many of these words, like I told you, if they begin with vowels, they're a little messed up. Ease is E-A. That's why Thoth asked me to look it up. Ooh, Jeannie, are you here, Jeannie? Okay, anyways. He's so serious today. I don't like what he's doing. I like when he has fun. All right. Anyways, the Alpha and the Omega. When I found the Alpha and the Omega, I found a name. All right, let's do some screen sharing. It's getting real here, my family. This is where it gets really real. I found her. I found her. We found her, my family. Let's go. Oh yeah, so yeah, that's what I was saying. Oh, so today, this full moon in Pisces. Wow, under the ocean. Okay, so Pisces. Now, just because we're during the month and the time frame of Pisces doesn't mean that the moon would be full in Pisces. This is like a mathematical synchronicity, if you will. But now is marking the time frame of whatever you've been going through. If you were dealing with something in the lungs, if you were dealing with things with the feet, if you were dealing with certain pains, or whatever has been taking place in your reality, this is because we were transmuting the Knights Templar, because the Knights Templar in Mary's head and the Knights Templar in Peter's head were fighting. These were all us. Who was fighting for Zeus and who was fighting for Mary? Okay? Who was fighting for the feminine? It's not a competition. I'm letting you know that this side won. It doesn't matter which side won. Nobody wins in this. Nobody wins when we're not working together, when we don't ascend together. Okay? So basically, this has been healed. What was a bigger farce and what was a bigger trick than having us not be able to identify why we felt like crap on that day, or distract ourselves with love stuff and cards and chocolates and all this BS, and celebrate love on the day where we were murdered, my family, where they murdered us. Why? Because we were fighting for God when we weren't fighting for God. This is the biggest karma that has been transmuted in my lifetime as a collective. Congratulations, my family. We made it together. This is what you've been processing. This is what you've been feeling. If you're having any ailments or any sort of residual right now, it's done, my family. It's done. If anything came up around the 14th or just before the 14th and you've been dealing with this, it's because this was multidimensionally being healed. But your mind might have grabbed hold of something and said, there's a pain in my wub. No, there isn't. That was a multidimensional pain. That was something that was dharma being transmuted from karma. The pole has flipped. We have to do this together. We make it all as one. We do not do this fractalization of the green and the blue and the this and the that. It's both of us, all of us together. Okay? So, when I find the Alpha and the Omega, woo, present, share screen, share screen. What? Entire screen. We'll just share entire screen. There it is. There we go. Share. I'm not even in my body right now. Okay. Here we go. Interesting. I'm sorry to even say the name out loud. Sorry about that. So now we find this little turd burglar right here. Okay. This is some interesting stuff right here your brother found. I'm going to do a little bit of reading. Okay. Baal Gabal, before her and better. Also romanized as whatever that BS is, Lady of Byblos. Now, okay, hold on. Let's pop that off. Let's go back over here for a second. Lady of Byblos. Byblos. Does Byblos sound like any other word? Let me sit back and relax. Let me get some water. Does Byblos sound like any other word you know? Anything? Anybody? Anyone? Bueller? Byblos? Taking too long. Ding, ding, ding. What do we have for Johnny? The Bible. Okay? The Bible. Okay? So this is the lady of the Bible. Wow, that was interesting. Aphrodite just popped. Oh, because I hovered over this. Okay. So let's keep reading. So this is the lady of the Bible. Good find, Alexander. Interesting. I didn't know there was a lady of the Bible. Also known as whatever that BS is and whatever that BS is. These beings have not been praying to Lucifer. These turds on the planet have not been praying to Satan or Lucifer. They have been praying to this Baal. This is known. This has come out into the light. Was the tutelary goddess of the city of Byblos. Now, this is talking about in the physical. there's this interesting time frame before Jesus was alive, before this BC thing, around this 200 BC, where the goddesses and the gods and the Amazons and all these beings that are written into mythology now were said to have existed in the physical. So this is what we're seeing with this being. While in the past, it was often assumed her name is only an epithet, blah, 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 proper meant to her close connection with the city, also identified with Hathor and later possibly Isis. This is this fractalization. She has nothing to do with either of these goddesses. These goddesses, through this fractalization process, how Bastet and Sekhmet are all one of the same deity, as we have these consorts, these opposites of the self, because we're in a Gemini reality, okay? We're in a Gemini time and space where there's the masculine builder, the masculine destroyer, the feminine seductress, and the feminine nurturer. This is why everybody loves Hathor, okay? And this is why some people are like, I don't know about Isis. Isis was great. This was done. She's not these people, my family. If you go on to read this, you find a name known as Dione. All right, we're going to skip ahead to here. Okay, this is very, very interesting. Oh my God. Alexander, how did you do this? So this Baal, which anywhere you research Baal is said to be a male demon. No. This is the OG. This is the original. They wanted to hide that from you. Your brother, boom, it's out in the light now. Dione. Okay, interesting. The alpha, see this little pair of looks like testicles right here? The alpha and the omega right there with the okay, interesting. 3 vowels in a row. Very, very interesting. So this existed but didn't exist. Dione. Oh, you did it, brother. The she Zeus. The she Zeus. The she Zeus. Okay, do I have to keep saying it? She Zeus, 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 Jesus. This is why his name comes from Sananda. It comes from, people say Yeshua. People say this, people have all this confusion. This whole time, they just stole everything. They stole all the old gods. They locked up the gods in where? Tartarus. What is Tar? The tar pits, where the dinosaurs are said to be, where we find these bones. Tartarus. Tartar ourselves, okay? What right did Zeus have to lock up Hestia? Does anyone know who Hestia is? I promise you, if you sit and you clear your space and you sage and you light incense and you call in, Hestia literally means the hearth in the home. It's to have a lit fireplace in the home. She is one of the primordial deities. She's basically the aunt or one of the elders to Zeus. But they knew the Zeus and the she-Zeus, because if you continue to read on and you go do your own research, you find out that the she-Zeus, Dione, is one of the 3,000 cetaceans. This is one of the 3,000 cetaceans, which means basically what would be a siren, a mermaid. This is the two-tailed turd burglar that we see on the Starbucks logo. Okay? You might want to write this stuff down. This is one of those videos that quite possibly could get deleted, my family. Okay? This is information that's been trying to be hidden. Those of you that have been watching me for the better half of a decade will remember every time I talked about what was going on Jupiter, they would delete the Facebook presentation right when I finished it. And this was something that wasn't even talked about back then. This whole you're being fact-checked, you're being fact-checked, you're being fact-checked. She Zeus, get out of here. Get out of here. Seriously. Weakness. Found her, found him. No. You can hide under the ocean no longer. Where do the sirens come from? The sirens actually devolved themselves if you do your research. What is a siren? A siren comes from a harpy. This is why they use music to what? In the stories, in the mythos, in the mythologies, they used music to sing to lead sailors to their deaths, to harvest their souls, to harvest their energies. That would be the sirens that sang songs to lead the masculine to death. Okay? Where does that come from? Where does the music come from? The word lyre. Okay? A lyre, a harp. Where's the harp? Harpy, the Harpies. The Harpies are the original sirens. If you go research a siren, you're going to find the with bird wings, okay? And then you're going to find a mermaid with two tails. Interesting. If you really research what happened here, these Harpies devolved themselves to go back under the ocean to become a sea serpent once again. It's possible. I will leave one little piece of innocence out there, and I will not just anchor this into the reality that this is something that happened to them and they're upset about it. This is something that took place in the reality through the castration of Uranus or whatever it is. This is a lot of information for me to go over my family. To be honest with you, we could need more help and more researchers and more philosophers talking about this stuff. But to be real with you, it's the harpy that had the feathers removed to become the sirens, because the original siren, when you find these etched into stone tablets back in Sumeria, when you find the original siren, that sound, that high-pitched sound of a siren on a fire truck, when you find the siren, that's originally a harpy with feathers. The reptile goes from being a little crazy reptilian to becoming the tortoise, to becoming the turtle and existing with God's self in the eyeball. When's the last time you met somebody and they're like, you know what I hate? Sea turtles. I just hate sea turtles. When's that? What? Like, if somebody ever said that to me, I think I would fight them, okay? And I'd be like, you must be joking. You must be joking. You look in a sea turtle's eyes and you see God. That is an ascended reptilian. You're literally watching the arms get longer and softer, and all the spininess on the shell becomes softer because it's becoming a bird. If you watch a sea tortoise be born and you watch a baby bird be born, they look identical. This is this mythos of the reptile becoming the bigger reptile, becoming the bigger reptile, becoming the sea turtle. Boom, these things are all out of eggs. The egg hatches, now it's a bird. Now it has the feathers till it becomes the eagle, the biggest bird. What happens? The eagle now loses its feathers. What is that? That's a drake. If you rip off all the feathers of an eagle and then paint it green, that literally looks like a baby drake dragon. And then what happens? It goes from this dragon to a bigger dragon, to a bigger dragon, to a bigger dragon, to a bigger dragon. And then, oh, it grows feathers. And that's funny. That's a phoenix, Alexander. That looks like a dragon with feathers, okay? So there was some decision to devolve the self, or something took place that made these harpies have to go under the ocean to become Leviathan, to become sea creatures, to become scaled ones once again, okay? This has been found. This is found in this Dione. It is said that Dione comes from Baal. Baal comes from the city of Byblos. The city of Byblos is where a child was throwing rocks in a cave, and the papyrus was found that was then sent to Greece to construct these Bibles from all of these scrambled scrolls, my family. These scrambled scrolls formed this information because they were like, this is sacred information. This is very, very sacred information. And somehow, by pretending to be this masculine demon, daemon, everybody was tricked into empowering them. How were we tricked into empowering them? If you look up the oldest form of the word Lucifer, it comes from Luciform, my family, okay? Luciform means to go rainbow body. This is, and I thank you, Sherry, for helping me with getting to this point, one of the fellow patrons. Mwah, love you. Because this has been something I've wanted to say to you guys for a long time, but I didn't want to trigger people. But now I'm out of foxes to give, okay? They tricked us into having us call them Luciferian. We were calling them rainbow body. We were assisting them with ascending. We were assisting them with transmuting their karma into dharma by calling them Luciferian. This Baal, these things that are taking place in these attacks on gender and what is taking place in this reality and what has been taking place and what's going on with the children, what's going on this planet, many of us know that the vibration of it is far below Luciferian. It is far below satanic. And this is why, because this is so far under the ocean. This is so far in the underworld that this isn't even at the bottom of the ocean. This is in these brine pools of salt. That's where she's been hiding, pretending to be a male, pretending to be a masculine, holding the trident, no longer. Holding the Holy Grail, no longer. She still has the lyre. This whole expression, who's a liar, where did that word come from? To lie, to tell untruths, okay? Interesting. Interesting, to be a liar. Part of me knows that this is some distorted aspect of the self. And the fact that just within the past 2 weeks, she's lost the trident, and now she's lost the grail. Part of me wonders if she'd survive without the lyre, because this connects back to the original harpy. If you take the harp away from the harpy, does the harpy survive? I'm not here to destroy an aspect of the self. So part of me is sitting with the fact that there's a storm coming, Dione, whatever your name is. She has nothing to do with Diana. Okay? She has nothing to do with Aphrodite. She has nothing to do with any of these deities. There are 3,000 of these cetaceans, and she is just one of these cetaceans that was with who? He found more. Okay? So, oh, Nancy, thank you. Thanks, Mama Bear. Nancy with the $20 silver star. Thank you. I don't even know. Oh, there's spade. How do I get rid of this? There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Becca. Thank you, Nancy. The consort of Dione. We're talking about this, huh? Tantalus, okay? When I was down there getting the trident, I grabbed the trident from a... You know your brother does not use the word witch very often. Thoth said to get the trident. I knew where the trident was because I was shown where the trident was when I was doing certain works, and I was working with the archangel, the arced angle of the deity that showed me where the trident was in the past. So since I knew where it was in the past, I could track it to where it was in the present. And spirit, like I said, whether or not this has been done for all of us, this has been done within the self, and thus the reality is shifting of myself from me finding the trident, taking it away from the sea witch, and transmuting it using alchemy to transmute to something scientific. When we melt down gold, plasma comes off of it. This is why all these alien races, this is why all these beings are after gold, not because it's pretty, because it is an energy source. If you melt it down, plasma comes off. You melt it down, plasma comes off. It's quite possible that leaving gold in a melted state is constantly giving off plasma, and how these spaceships are even flying around in the first place. Just a little food for thought. A little food for thought. A little food for Thoth. Okay? Moving on. So when we get the gold and we melt the gold down of the trident and we get the ether, we get the plasma, and we put that back to where that plasma came from, and we put the gold back to here. And that physical present moment, even if the trident was reconstructed, the magic is gone. And why would we want this magic to be gone? Because no sea life, no life in this reality. If your brother finds a spot where life is being controlled, he will stop this. You should stop this. This is what we do. We came here to free the self from these distortions, from these lower dimensional realities, and triumphing by vibrating on the higher. Okay? So this was done. They had me go find the trident and deal with this because I knew where the trident was, because I was shown it by this angel when I was clearing stuff under the ocean. And when I saw it, she looked at me and she said, "This is for you." And I was like, I don't want that. And she says, "Why don't you want it?" And I said, "Because that's to control sea life. I don't want to control sea life. I don't want to control anybody's free will. I want everybody to be free." But in that moment, I didn't have the thought in meditation to be like, wait a minute, here is this thing that is controlling life. I didn't realize that she was showing me this all those years ago, so I would know where it was just the other day, because time doesn't exist. And like I said, if we can go forward and back, if we have this ability of moving fluidly by being the light benders that you are, I went back and found it there and then watched it as it moved to get to this present moment. Does that make sense to you? Okay. If I go back to where when I saw it, I can find it here. This is why you don't like when certain people touch your bracelet. Okay? Moving on. Once the trident was dismantled, they showed me that there was more. Okay? They showed me that there was this cup. We'll get to the cup in a second. We have to get through Tentalus. So it was about sometime around after May, me and the patrons, because I said, I need your help with this, guys. I need your help with freeing the old gods from Tartarus. Whatever they did was not bad enough that they needed to be put through this as well. I found Sisyphus. Sisyphus is the one that was rolling the rock up the hill, and every time he rolled the rock up the hill, it rolled back down. I found a lot of these gods. I thought I found all of them. I didn't find Tantalus, because he was the one that was being punished the most. And like I said, nothing that I'm telling you right now is from woo-woo. Everything that I'm telling you, you can use philosophy, you can use research, and you can go find what I'm saying to be written into Wikipedia, written into books, written into encyclopedias, if anybody even still owns those ancient things. So, Tantalus is the consort of Dione. Tantalus is where the word tantalize comes from. When I found Jupiter all these years ago, I knew that I needed a very powerful arrow to be able to pierce that storm cloud, to see what was transpiring and taking place on Jupiter, because something felt odd within my own body. This, like I said, if you've been watching me for years, some of you will remember these broadcasts on Facebook very long ago, okay? So I was sitting in a hot tub with a lot of different goddesses. There were goddesses in the hot tub, and they're like, what's he doing as he's like literally just spinning chi to make the biggest arrow I possibly could, because I had Sirens in the water with me. I had Aphrodites in the water with me. I had Artemises in the water with me. I had Diones in the water with me. All of these goddesses were existing in the water archetypally, the one in the all. And it was at that moment that Spirit said, now. And I was like, now what? And they were like, if you're ever going to be able to create an arrow that's going to be able to pierce that, then utilize this water. There was nothing vampiric about this. I know that sounds very odd. It was the fact that, you know, let me just heavy skull to hold up, but this and this, so two people each have their own auric field around them, but because my field had the Vesica Pisces going on with all these other people's auric fields, archetypally, I was able to punch in on certain archetypal frequencies in that moment because we were all in the water together to create this arrow, to loose it towards Jupiter, to have it get through the cloud cover. And the second it got through the cloud cover, I was literally like, I knew the arrow was going to be destroyed right away. And I was trying to perceive and see as much as I could. And as I was seeing as much as I could, being the galactic shaman that your brother is, and what I discovered was these machines. I saw these machines that were, I'm going to do like a really crude drawing here. So there were these basically these hoses that were coming off of them. There were these hoses coming off of them, and this very powerful arrow got shot down right away. I believe that cloud cover, that storm on Jupiter, is there for a reason, so we can't see the surface of the planet. But when I went through, I saw spider humanoids. I saw spider beings. I know this sounds crazy. Now there's going to be a little bit of woo-woo, but I'm going to make sense out of it with the mythology. And I saw these devices. So when I got back to my body, I said, what are those devices? I started to ask my soul, and my soul answered me, those are for harvesting unconscious orgasm. Those are for harvesting sexual energy. Those are for harvesting energy, because the energy cannot be created and it cannot be destroyed. But as we have this whole Pama Baba experience of activating rainbow body, Luciform once again, how they tricked us into being scared of that word, when we know that Lucifer was said to be Venus, and Venus is also said to be this water goddess of Venus, the shell that rose from the ocean. Okay, this is right out there in plain sight. And men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Like, none of this is even like all that was put right there to mess with us, my family. But when I saw these devices that were trying to feed something inside the center of the planet, that were trying to create something from our and quite possibly other places in the galaxy, but that were harvesting all of humanity's unconscious Kundalini experiences. Where was that energy going? How did Pamasai Baba go rainbow body? How did the Hamsa get created when him and his woman came out of the cave and pushed their hands into the cave wall? These are the questions that many of us on this journey have been asking. And like I said, that's a video for another day. That's a video for another day, because I need to talk about this Christos and the oil and the real colostrum, the real Santa Claus coming down the chimney. Because like I told you, this is from my experience over this emblem that I show you as crystal current emblem. This is that experience when I was practicing this over a decade ago. And there's a difference between this practice and abstinence. It's very different, my family. But this is what Pamasai Baba was doing to get to the level that him and his wife got to, him and his consort got to. So I started to see again that this energy was being harvested. And it made me start to look at sex completely different. It made me look at a lot of things completely different. But it also made me look at the spider totem completely different. Because I said, why are these spiders? Interesting. Moving on. I know I might have lost some people there. But now let's get back into the mythos once again. Dione, the she-Zeus, the consort of Tantalus, to tantalize. When I was doing my work, when we were doing our work, I did not find Tantalus. I did not find Tantalize because he was the one being punished the most. He was in a brine pool that was so far below the ocean, I couldn't see through all the salt. But when I found Tantalus, and I was like, what is this? And I found the story. I was like, who is this guy? I was like, he feels really good. Why is he being tortured for thousands of years? Okay? Go read the story yourself about Tantalus. Here's what's happening. Some of you will know this story. So he's in water up to his knee, okay? Which is literally how they tortured the goddess. This is how they tortured this. So many of these goddesses and many forms of medieval torture were leaving us in water until the skin would go beyond pruning. I'm not here to talk about these disturbing things, but what I will tell you is this. He's said to be standing in water up to his knees. And what's there? A tree. There's a tree there, which these trees are portals. And what's coming off of the tree is fruit. And every time he reaches for the fruit, because he's starving, he's very hungry, the branches go higher and the fruit leaves his grasp. Every time he goes down to get the water, because he's thirsty, the water recedes and leaves. They were torturing this aspect of us for thousands of years, my family. It's written right into history. Do you want to know what Tantalus did to be punished like this, to be locked up into this lowest realm of Tartarus? Do you want to know what he did? He brought ambrosia and milk and honey to humanity. That's why Zeus and the she-Zeus punished him. And she's been showing up there and tantalizing him and saying like, oh, I'm right here. There's nothing I can do about it. She was responsible. I'm going to show you a little bit of woo-woo because your brother can see time and space. So now it's said that just Zeus locked up this god there. But her and him, Dione and Zeus, did this together. They co-created this outcome. Dione is said in the stories to be the mistress of Zeus, the lady of Zeus. So this word lady is also bad. Lady actually means mistress from the research that I did. So this is why some of you goddesses out there have been triggered when somebody calls you a lady. Even though they say lords and ladies, not a good word, my family, just from my research. Just throwing it out there. Once again, take it with a grain of salt, pun intended. So Dione is going down there, and while her consort is thirsty and starving for thousands of years, she's now tantalizing him also with like wanting to feel loved, wanting to be loved, wanting to touch his who he thinks is his woman. When I freed him from this hell, because this was not a purgatory, this was a hell. When I freed him from this hell, And then I didn't even see, like, I didn't even know. I was like, whatever you did, I could feel that your thing's been paid. When I released him, and then I ended up actually doing physical research on the internet, when I actually ended up doing research on who this Tantalus is, because he's been being tantalized. When I did research on him, I couldn't believe what I was reading. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I couldn't believe the synchronicity, because there's Dione written there, as I've already been basically for weeks clashing with this incredibly weak aspect of the self. Let's just be real. Incredibly be weak. Just one of the 3,000 cetacean, oceanid, merfolk, octopus beings, however you see them. It's the fact that she had these items. They had these mystical items. They had the trident of Uncle Poseidon, Neptune, these older planets, Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus, the primordial deities were locked energetically in Tartarus. How do you destroy a god that's immortal? You have to take the being apart. This is why we have these Shiva lingams. This is why Osiris was said to have been put back together. Why she couldn't find the phallus. The phallus was in the river. This is the same story with Shiva. The Shiva lingam rolling around in the river. Because how do you dismantle and take apart and kill that which is immortal? By taking apart the physical and making it so the soul has no ground. Okay? But for this Tantalus, he was just locked up under a bed of salt in a very, very deep ocean in the Red Sea. I look up the Red Sea as I'm reading all this, as I find this. The Red Sea is touching Egypt. It's touching Byblos. Okay? This is all connected, my family. And if you go research, they say these brine pools are there, where if you go down under the water, you can find lakes with moving waves on the lakes under the water. I can send you the link if you don't believe me. I can send you these links and these stories of submarines bouncing off the water. The water is so dense. Okay? So this Tantalus, we're almost at time here. Oh my God. I'm not going to get to the Hermetic principles today. There'll be a part 2. I'm going to actually go through the Hermetic principles and, help you guys with this stuff. I had to get through everything that's been going on since Thoth came in. Tartarus. Tantalus. Tarantulas. The spiders and these spider beings that we've been seeing were connected to the harvesting of the energy from Tantalus. This is where this word tarantulas is coming from. This is why they looked like spider humanoids. They were torturing a god to the point that this god's essence was being harvested, and this was happening within the mental, the spiritual, the causal, the etheric. This was happening all over the place. Like I told you, my family, we're free. We're free now as we continue to free these aspects of the self. As I continue to do this archetypal work. As we continue to do this archetypal work together. The reality will continue to improve. And these aspects and versions of the self will have to deal with the karma that they created. Okay? So, this whole Tantalus, Tartar, to have the Tartar, the god that was at the bottom of Tartar. Okay? And like I said, if you read the stories, all the primordial deities were locked in Tartarus. So this was like basically like as you look at these, like how they show hell with the rings, and as it goes like down, as we see this tree, these trees, these things going out and up, and Yggdrasil and the trees and this thing and that thing, we go under the ocean, and I didn't see. So forgive me for missing Tantalus. I didn't see this in this bed of salt. This god, Sisyphus, existing in this hellish realm, I saw. And then all of these deities up here, they were all locked under the ocean in the Red Sea. Okay? I tell you guys this because I want to remind you once again what I was telling you in the beginning of this. If it exists on Gaia, and you are an extension of Gaia, it exists on your body. If something traumatic has happened in Ohio, where is Ohio on Alexander's frame? I clear the air in that area. I do the work that I need to do by finding Ohio outside within the self, because this is all mental. And when we control the mental, we then have the ability to avoid these lower dimensional realms, lower dimensional ways of thinking. There's no message that I can give you that is more important than controlling the mind. And those of you that have been watching me for a while, you've heard me say many a time, in 2013, when Spirit told me to stop thinking negative thoughts, it would be a farce for me to tell you that I've mastered this. It would be a farce for me to tell you that I've mastered not thinking negative thoughts. I've become much stronger and much better at not allowing negative things to come out of my mouth, but they still do. We still make mistakes as the pendulum swings back and forth. But I can tell you that the way to escape all of this is, like I said, what's in the book, law against law. And if it's all coming from the mental, the 25% of 25% of the 25%, if everything that isn't water is these other forms of matter, okay? All in all, yes, I said that on purpose. The all is in the all. All in all, this expression saying that God is within, okay? All in all right? It's up to us to take control over the mind. It's up to us to know what we're thinking. It's up to us to sit at the end of the day and seeing if we could have spoken to our beloved in a better manner, if we could have kept our patience, if we could have given the bum $5 instead of an orange. There's always improvements that we can make, my family. So these forces and these aspects of the self, like I said, Jupiter is about to enter Chiron. All right? You can't make that up. You can't make that up. That's the wounded healer. So the dark night of the soul is coming for this being, and now all the old deities are free, and they will remain free. Hey, that's this guy's name. That's this lady's name. Look at that from the back. Look at that from the back, Alexander. As within, so without. Oh my God. How did you get such high-grade selenite and make the... Oof. Anyways. Inside of the Holy Grail that I found under there, the Holy Grail. And when Thoth showed this to me, it looked like this. Okay. There was a face on a cup. So a picture of this wasn't here. And this is the Ace of Cups in the tarot. This is the Ace of Cups, the cup that continues to flow over and flow over and flow over and flow over. Now, I have not been able to find this. It's almost like it got left in a Mandela effect or left in an old reality or something. But there was a goddess that I worked with that was very much so connected to the ocean life, worked with the dolphins, and was out in Florida. And in her session, I found a bowl and a grail that had salt continually flowing over the sides. No matter what happened, there was salt flowing over the sides. This was one of these cetaceans that is not Dione. This was her element. This was her item, whoever she was. I've scoured the internet. I cannot find this story. And with many people, we come and go in each other's lives. So this goddess I'm no longer in contact with to have her validate what she remembers. But maybe somebody watching this remembers the story of this cup or this bowl, because it's been seen differently between Roman and Greek. I remember one time it was a bowl and one time it was a cup. But this salt that continues to flow over and over and over is how they were controlling these brine pools And if you look at what salt is a crystal, my family. Salt is a crystal that you can create in your own home. You can do an experiment that something much like a child would do. Basic chemistry, basic alchemy. And you can make salt. What form does salt take? What form does salt take? Oh, wait. I already drew it. I drew it in the book. Interesting, Alexander. Look at what the heck? What the heck? What the heck? Isn't that a tetrahedron? You don't believe me? Go look yourself. Go check. Oh, wait. I'll drink some water. I'm running out of voice anyway. Salt forms in a cube. Salt can have other essences and elements added right into it. You can put lavender in your salt. You could put purple food coloring in your salt. I prefer like a baby blue salt with maybe some jasmine in it. Love me some jasmine. So we all can create these crystals ourselves. Interesting. So this is what was in this cup. I promise you. I swear to you. I remember reading these stories right on the internet, right on Wikipedia. And hopefully this resurfaces, pun intended. Okay? This cup that continually overflows with salt. So this cup is continually overflowing with time because these crystals are a fourth dimensional connection to what is called a tesseract, the cube within a cube. If you go look at the cubes, my family, of salt, you will see that they are shaped like a reverberating. There's literally, you can see squares going into them, or they are perfectly solid cubes that you can see an X going into the middle, and you can see another cube inside of the cube. That's what these salt cubes look like. When we see, like my sister was saying in the Patreon group the other day, what jellyfish are made up pretty much 100% of salt. This is like salt swimming around in the salt. Okay, the salt's connected to the tesseract. The tesseract's connected to time. This is how they were creating and controlling time. They're not controlling time anymore. This is how they were controlling those brine pools, because by having the infinite salt flow out, there were basically these energy shields where the submarines couldn't get down there, or we couldn't get down there to where these things are hiding in the oceans. No more. What is Alexander's favorite love language? My favorite love language is evolving. When evolving ceases, when somebody in my reality tells me that they don't want to evolve anymore, it's a very quick way for Alexander to say, I think I want to leave this bucket. Okay? So it is time, okay, now that they no longer have this cup, now that this cup is within the self, okay, the bottom of the Grail. Remember this thing? Well, I'll draw it on here, so I'm going to start ruining my book. It's a really crude drawing. Remember this drawing where the faces are coming together? The faces are squaring off, but they can't touch? That was the tantalizing. These faces are not touching, but this drawing of the two faces coming together, and it forms the Grail. It forms the cup. It's like almost like one of those Rorschach tests that they used to have us draw when we were a child. They would say, do you see the cup or do you see the people? What do you see? Do you see love or do you see a cup? Is the cup full? Is the cup empty? It doesn't matter what the cup is. The cup exists. We should be grateful if we have a cup mentally. It's how we gain more control over the reality. So as this cup overflows with salt, let me draw just another quick. Okay. This is going to be crude. Okay. This is what I saw. All right. When I first saw the cup, when I first found the cup, and this is not hair. This is the and you can find this connected to certain deities, but they tell you it's water. I've found it with water, the cup that continues to flow over. I can promise you there's salt in that water. There's time in that water. There's control in that water. Because what is it? Tesseract, Merkaba spin, icosahedron, 4D, 5D, 9D, you're out. Okay, you've integrated that realm. Now you can start working on 10th density, the 1 plus the 0. The 0 doesn't exist. We were already talking about this today. The 0 is not there. You get through the 9, you integrate that tree to then start working on the next tree or whatever that realm is. But as I've done this work and I continue to do this work and I activate this within the self, and I'm going to tell you, this whole like salty thing, this has been a ride, my family. This has not been easy for me to integrate this. I'm not saying this because I'm asking for help. I'm not saying this to be vampiric. I'm not saying this. I'm not asking for anything. I have this. Thank you. Thank you for even feeling or thinking that, if you did. But I'm letting you know, if you choose to go on this journey, there might be, and I hope with my transmutation of this, there isn't anger, but there has been some fury coming up. Fury is not rage. Fury is a grandma's energy. Fury is seeing that something that is taking place, it's not going to happen anymore. What are you doing? What are you doing to that person? What are you doing to that child? That's fury. That's not rage. Rage is out of control. Fury is in control. And this is what these dragon aspects, these ascended dragons, these galactic dragons, these red dragons, these aspects of the self that I've been working for, these primordial deities, these necessary cogwheels in the function of our reality, have been showing your brother for years. More and more integration, more and more real love, more and more acceptance, more and more as I go through these things. But there have been many times since I started integrating this within myself, because what happens is the seed comes down, the seed becomes germinated, it goes back up, and that's when it reaches the cave of Brahma. Like I said, I'll be going into more detail about this, and this is why we haven't gone into the third chakra yet, because as I told you, the sacral chakra is loaded. So that'll be the next video coming up. It might be before the 15th when we do another channeling, where we channel and use the tarot cards. What I wanted to let you know is, as a collective, there's a magical harp that this Dione still has. Part of me feels like, don't take the harp. Maybe it's just too much right now. Maybe we need time. Maybe by losing these two elements of being able to control the cetacean life, they were using this to control. They've lost control over many of my family members, in my reality at least. Now that the Trident is gone and no longer in their grasp and has been transmuted and transmogrified by mental alchemy, by real spiritual and metaphysical alchemy, they've now lost control over many of my family members that have these mermaid aspects, that have these octopus aspects, that have these very, very, very old, powerful, powerful beings. And I thank you all for being here. I thank you all for supporting me on this journey. I thank most of all the patrons that have been truly supporting your brother and making it so he has extra time to look at these things. He has extra time to put paint on canvases and musical notes in a beat machine, and to not have to be in such a grind mode of constantly doing the jewelries and the events and the travel and all of it. And I can promise you that I will continue this work and I continue this journey, because it is my moral obligation to boost morale. And many of you came here with that same journey of integration. And many of you came here to speak, to assist, and to know how to assist without feeling like you're being ripped apart. So whatever's been controlling in the old realm and the old reality and the old station, because we don't even use the words timeline anymore. It's gone, my family. But if it's not gone in the mental, then it still exists. So there'll be another video where we're going to go over the Hermetic laws. There'll be another video where we talk about the true activation of the other Holy Grail, which is the womb. So once again, what do we have? Now, once again, when we draw one Grail, when we draw one Grail and we draw another Grail, interesting. Looks like a tree again. Wherever I look, I keep finding the tree. It's not because I'm looking for the tree. It's because the tree is always there, okay? The totem pole is always there. The antenna is always there. Because with my roots going through the ground in this multidimensional reality, with my roots in 6 density, it's the roots that pull the water. It's the roots that pull the nutrients. It's the roots that pull the information from my shadow integration to come up the bark, to go up to the branches, to turn those nutrients into fruit so I can feed my family. So if I step out of the reality of, oh no, we're just going to 5D. No, trick, wrong. That's some whatever that JA's name is that invented whatever that other fake Jesus is on Wall Street. I don't even want to say their names. Like literally a lot of the spiritual information that many are believing and living by came from very, very evil people on Wall Street. Okay? Cthulhu, not a real person, not a real deity. This is like South Park's Imagination Land 101. Let's create our own Jesus. Let's create our own information. Let's create our own circle of dragons. Much of the information, whether you believe it or not, okay, some of it has been misrepresented and some of it has shifted and folded the reality around itself because this is all mental. So as many, many people in the mental believe this is this color, this is that, this is this, these things happened. I believe that's how the chakra went from this to that, because this kept getting drawn into books. With my third eye completely turned on, when I found my chakras, they were standing up like this. And it was in time that Spirit told me, boom, 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 boom. Boom. Like now, my chakras don't stand up anymore. They've been like this for almost a decade. What I was shown is not the way it was supposed to be. And what I saw was how it was. I had to figure this out by communicating with my own self. All right. So we got the Holy Grail in the head. Okay, and then we get the Holy Grail in the womb. Okay, and as we further take control over these realities by truly, truly overcoming addiction, not replacing one addiction with another addiction, this is how we empower ourselves, empower our minds by not making excuses and not doing things of I need this, I need that, and cutting out all addiction. We further take control over our mind. And when we further take control over our mind, we further take control over this reality. Okay? That's 2 hours. It's time to go start preparing food to break what will be a 24-hour fast. Oh, and look at that. The incense is just about to burn out too, my dragon's blood. I love you all so much. I know this title on this video, there was some information that definitely came through from Thoth today. I told you there would be a channeling. I had to get through all of this, which I did not even get through all of it. I just wanted to let you know that Ra, Jupiter, Jove, Zeus, Enlil, YHWH, all of these beings are the same guy that's been working with the same gal to rewrite history, to burn books, to move books. They don't got to burn the books. They just remove them. And that's no longer, because now Jupiter's about to enter Chiron, and the dark night of the soul for this aspect of the self will begin. And no more of this. No more of this attack on gender. No more of this attack on children. Okay, these are laws. These are laws. More information to come. Thank you all so very much. Thank you to everybody that has hit the like button, that has shared this video out, and to all of you that have subscribed and subscribe in the future from finding this broadcast on the World Wide Web. I love you all so much. I will see you very, very soon. And remember, you get more free, we become more free in every single present moment. The present moment is where we control time from, it's where we control the mind from. And where we control the mind from, this is how we, instead of destroying fear, we know that fear and courage are on one pole, and sometimes we just need to flip the pole. That is Hermetic law, my family. I love you all so much. I will see you very soon. Cheers, my family. Thank you.